My name's Chris Moles. I'm Professor of Complexity and Management at Hertfordshire Business School. I'm also Director of the Doctor of Management programme. So this is my fourth book on complexity. So I suppose it's something of a primer in complexity in one sense, that I go back over the sciences of complexity, what they tell us, what they don't tell us, how they're mostly model-based. And then I make something of a move to explain what that might mean in social terms if we think about what human beings are doing together in organisations. Management is something of an instrumental discipline. So the word management comes from manus, meaning hand, putting something under your hand. And of course, we need managers. But nonetheless, I think there's something of an arrogance about most orthodox management theory, which thinks that everything can be managed, including our feelings or our personal relationships. And I think there's a tendency in contemporary society to think that everything can be run like a business. So there's a tendency in management theory, because it's predicated on ideas of predictability and control, that although complexity theory is interesting, it too can be placed under the idea of the manager being in control of complexity. An orthodox approach to complexity might assume that complexity only applies in certain circumstances of the manager's choosing. Or complexity is a good thing. You can unleash complexity in the organisation or create the circumstances for emergence to happen. So you see, when people talk about complexity like that they still think managers are in control of complexity. However, what I try to do in the book is to cleave to the idea of the predictable unpredictability of everyday life. So what I'm trying to say in the book is that there is no privileged position for a manager to be in, controlling everybody else and predicting the outcomes of everybody else's activity. You might be in a position of greater influence than people you're managing, but you're not in a position of greater insight than the people that you're managing, because you're subject to the laws of complexity, if you like, along with everybody else. If social life is complex, then it's complex for everybody, including the managers. What does that mean then for the way that we communicate with each other? What does it mean for our theory of action? What does it mean for our theory of ethics in the way that we treat each other? The book hangs on the idea of 7 types of complexity. And in that, I address what taking the complexity sciences seriously would mean if you try and combine insights from a minority natural science discipline with the social sciences, where people have been thinking about complex social relationships for a long time. I've taken an experiential approach where we're looking at what people say and do and what they think about they say and do as a way of getting into the complex group dynamics that inform everyday organisational life. There is a very strong trend in many organisations to think that metrics are the best way of managing, but metrics cause as many problems as they solve. Of course you want to know what's going on in your organisations, and it's entirely appropriate to count things. However, if that's all that you're doing the easy part of the task, because sometimes metrics can be used as a form of tyranny in organisations where people feel bullied and only respected for what they achieve. And of course, what you count is what gets done. So I think one of the key messages of the book is that the quality of relationships and the quality of conversation are probably the 2 most important aspects of managing. That doesn't mean to say that managers shouldn't pay attention to the metrics. Of course they have to achieve things, but it's how you achieve things with other people that becomes the most important thing to pay attention to. The most important thing that we can be doing when the going gets tough is to think about what we're doing, and that in itself is a radical act and may help us stay in relation when we really need to.